Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam. To those who are constantly engaged in my devotional service. And then he says, Yatantasya dridhavrata, one who is always endeavoring with determination. But what about those who are not at that stage, who are not fixed up, whose determination is not to the level that they can perform constant devotional service? So Krishna is very merciful. He is Bhakta Vatsala. He is Kripa Sindhu. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu. He is Karuna Sindhu. He is the ocean of mercy. He also says in Bhagavad Gita, very hope-giving verse, Swalpam api asya dharmasya. So I was contemplating that what could be Swalpam api asya dharmasya. That Alpa means very little and Swalpa means very, very little, where you hardly have to make any endeavor. And that is this month. Just by offering a lamb. What effort or endeavor one has to do? By offering a lamb. Krishna says, Trahite mahato bhaya. I will save one from the greatest danger. So that danger is ignorance. So if one performs even little devotional service of just offering a lamb to Lord Krishna, he gives so much of opportunity to the practitioner that he can come to the stage of realizing the Supreme Lord. That is the potency and power of this month. Why so many videos are off? Most of the people, they remain video off. So many times I have requested, when you have tuned in, why don't you take the full advantage? Why you want to remain off? It is like when the rain is showering, you will sit with an umbrella so that you do not get the benefit. So this month is very, very glorious, very auspicious. It gives so much of opportunity, so much of enthusiasm. I just came from the temple hall after offering the lamb. Entire morning session is filled with devotees. Evening session is filled with devotees. We see those visitors and devotees who are not seen in the other time. For those who are defaulting devotees. So this is the month which gives mercy to those who are not consistent, who have been at some default. So that default is also forgiven, and they get the enthusiasm to perform devotional practice and devotional service. So such glorious is this month. And one of the strong recommendation by Padma Puran for observing this month and getting the merit is to study Bhagavad Gita daily. And it clearly says, if one studies Bhagavad Gita daily, sincerely, there is no rebirth. Tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mameti so Arjuna. So we will begin on discussion on the 4th chapter. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha कृपा सिंधु भैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। Amongst the glories of Bhagavad Gita, one of the glories which is mentioned in the Sri Vaishnaviya Tantra, it says, Ya Shanoti cha Gitatham Kirtayanti eva ya param Shravecha cha parardartham Saprayati param padam. Ya Shanoti cha Gitartham. Just not hearing. One has to hear to understand the meaning or the message. Ya Shunoti cha Gita Artham. One has to understand the Artha. Artha means the value or the message or the meaning of Gita. Kirtayanti eva yaparam. And after understanding it, assimilating it, applying it in life, what one has to do? One has to glorify, one has to preach to others. Kirtayanti eva yaparam. Shravaya cha parartham vai. And he reiterates or he brings this jnana, this knowledge, helps others to assimilate and apply this knowledge. For him, what is the destination or what is the result? It says, Sa prayati parampada. So he will reach to the highest abode, the abode of the Supreme Lord. That is the glory of hearing and speaking Bhagavad Gita. So amongst one of the Kartik Vrata vow, what we can take a simple vow is that daily we will read Bhagavad Gita at least. We'll study Bhagavad Gita, try to assimilate the meaning, the understanding, the artha, the message of Bhagavad Gita and apply in our life. So already Padma Puran says, no rebirth. How no rebirth? Because if one goes to the spiritual world, then there is no question of rebirth. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamam paramam. So we have been discussing the fourth chapter and we are on the concluding verses, the last final two verses of this chapter. Very, very important chapter of transcendental knowledge. In this chapter, after Krishna speaking about so many subject matters, mainly Krishna talking about yoga. If you have read and understood the artha of this chapter, may I begin asking you, what is the message of this chapter? We have discussed first 39 verses, rather 40 verses. Out of the 42 verses, we have discussed 40 verses. So this chapter is already done. Now Krishna will just only give the conclusion. The overall message, Krishna will reiterate. As it is said here, that Shravayecha tapararartham. Krishna will reiterate what he has already spoken. So what is the message of this chapter? Who has understood? Who has got the understanding of what this chapter is conveying? Yeah, please attempt. We discussed this chapter for almost nearly More than 2 months, even more than that, 3 to 4 months. So what has been the understanding? What has been the artha, understanding of this chapter? What is the message Krishna gave in this chapter? Yes, Priyanka. Sorry, Sonika.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in this chapter, first Lord Krishna discussed about the Nishkam Karma, a selfless devotional Nishkam Karma, and other aspect was to control the senses, mind and senses, and that can be done only by regulations, and then only we can do the highest service, that is devotional service, and that cannot and never be destroyed.
Yeah, Krishna is focusing on karma which is devoid of desire. Karma which is devoid of material desire or selfish desires. So that is called Nishkarmya or Nishkam Karma. So Krishna is propagating in this. So this Nishkam Karma is compared to Yagna or sacrifice. And this sacrifice, so we spoke about so many sacrifices, so many sacrifices, So this sacrifice, this Nishkam Karma Yoga is compared to the sacrifice which will enable the practitioner to become recipient of this transcendental knowledge. And what is this transcendental knowledge? Krishna is detailing here. Who will reply? What is this transcendental knowledge? Wait, you have already replied. You have already answered. Let others also attempt. Rajendra ji, Hare Krishna, welcome. I'm very happy to see you with your book. And I am very happy to see so many Krishna's pictures at the background of your drawing room. Bahut acha, very good. You are a Krishna Bhakta.
तो ये अभी जो आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा उसका तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि हम शरीर नहीं है, हम आत्मा और हमारा।
तो लेकिन इसको हम केवल सुनते हैं, हम इसको समझ नहीं पाए हैं अभी तक, और उस समझ के द्वारा हम अपने जीवन को परिवर्तित या उसके अनुसार चला नहीं पा रहे हैं। उसमें सबसे बड़ी बाधा क्या है, वो उसके बारे में विषय में भगवान अभी विवरण दे रहे हैं, बता रहे हैं कि व्हाट इज द बिगेस्ट ऑब्स्टिकल इन रिसीविंग दिस नॉलेज, व्हाई वी आर नॉट एबल टू रिसीव दिस नॉलेज। So Krishna says there are 3 things. Previously Krishna discussed, if you see in the previous section that we discussed from verse number 39. In 39 Krishna said that who can receive this knowledge? Anyone remembers?
Shraddhavan.
Very good. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Those who are faithful can receive this knowledge. And also faithful means that they are tatpara. They are very keen, they are very eager. They have this desire in their heart to receive this knowledge, to receive this, to remove ignorance. Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara, and they are sanyatendriya. They are always trying to regulate and control their senses, their discipline. But now in this section, Krishna is speaking, what are the disqualifications or what are the obstacles which does not allow one to receive this knowledge. In the 40th verse, that was the last verse we discussed in the last session, Krishna spoke about 3 things. 3 things which enable one to receive this knowledge. And there are 3 things which disqualify one not to be able to receive this knowledge. What are these? 40th verse said, Ajnanascha ashraddhanascha. The faithful can receive it, but the ignorant. Ajnanascha means one who is ignorant. That means who is bereft of knowledge, who has no knowledge. and also ashraddhanasya. He lacks knowledge and he also lacks faith. Ashraddhanasya. And there is another category who cannot receive this knowledge, which is samshayatmana, who is always doubting. So such person, Krishna is saying, Nayam loko asti na paro, na sukham samshayatmana. For such a category of people, those who are ajnanascha, ashraddhanascha, and samshayatmana, for such people, there is no happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Very dangerous situation. So now, Krishna, in the last section, in the last verse, last two verses, he recommends how to be free from such a situation, how to get out of this entanglement. And Krishna spoke this verse, which is the 41st verse that we will discuss today. 41st and 42nd verse. These are the last two verses we will discuss. Yoga sannyast karmanam jnana sanshin samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya. Yoga sannyast karmana. Yoga, we all see this chapter also speaks about yoga. Yoga means one's connection with the Supreme Lord. And how that connection is established? The connection is established by performing devotional service. And how one will perform devotional service? Yoga sannyastha. So, connection with the Supreme means detachment or renunciation from which is not related to Supreme. So, connection or yogam with the spirit means detachment or renunciation from matter. So that is sannyas. Sannyas means one who is renounced. In what one is renounced? Karmana. Not in karma. Karmana means one who is detached in performing his duty from the fruits or the results of his actions. So that is yoga sannyasta karmana, or in other words, nishkam karma yoga. The action is done without being attracted or attached to the fruit or the result of the action. That means he is free from the desire, devoid of desire of gains, personal gains or results. And then he says, Jnana Sanshin Samshaya. So one who is performing Nishkam Karma Yoga, as Swanika said, so such a person can become recipient of Jnana. So he can receive this transcendental knowledge, the knowledge about the difference between matter and spirit, about Atma. And when he receives this Atma Gyan, what Atma Gyan does? Chanshin. Sanshin means that it completely cuts. It cuts. What it cuts? Samshayam. Samshayam is the doubt. So in our heart, if we are having doubts, so that is a confirmation. That is the confirmation of one has not received knowledge. Because doubt can only prevail when one is in ignorance. If one is situated in knowledge, there is no question of any doubt. He will be duty bound. If he is doubting, that means he is in ignorance. So here Krishna is saying that Arjuna, you do not have to renounce the action, but you have to renounce the desire for the result of the action and be situated in yoga. And when you act in such consciousness, you will be free from all doubts. all apprehensions, all fears of insecurity. Atmavantam, you will be situated in the self. What is the self? Atma. Na karmani. If you are situated on the level of Atma, when you work with the consciousness of you are not this body, you are soul, then you are not bound by the reaction of your action. Na karmani. Karmani means the reaction of action, not just action. It is not that if you are situated in yourself, in your constitutional position, Atma, then you will not perform any action. No. You will perform action, but their reaction of your action will not be there to bind you. Nibat nanti, dhananjaya, they cannot bound you. You are liberated. So knowledge liberates and ignorance binds the practitioner. So Krishna is telling here, one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in this self. So this is the maturity of one who has received knowledge. What are the symptoms? What are the, obvious consciousness of the person who is performing action, situated in knowledge? He is renouncing the fruits of his action and he is free from all doubts. He is convinced. His conviction is deep. His determination is rock solid. It is not affected by anyone or any situation. We will discuss that. We'll discuss that more deeply. Thus, he is not bound by the reaction of world, O conqueror of riches. So, Krishna is in a way poking Arjuna. Dhananjaya, you are the conqueror of riches. And how are you being conquered by samshaya? How the doubts have taken charge in your heart. So, Srila Prabhupada gives a short purport, but a powerful purport. He says, one who follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of Godhead himself, he becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. So this is very, very strong indication, or rather the confirmation of who has received knowledge, that he will be completely free from doubt. He will be convinced. His conviction will never be wavered or affected. Like we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada himself. When Prabhupada was attempting to go to America to initiate the Krishna consciousness movement, no one supported him. No one believed him. And everyone discouraged him. Everyone said that Swamiji, it is impossible. What are you trying to do? Now at this age of 70 years, alone, unknown, you will go to America? Who will hear you? No one is hearing you here in India. And no one is taking any value to what you are speaking in India, in your own country. Who will value in that foreign country where you are completely unknown? And what resource you have? But Srila Prabhupada's determination was never deterred. Whoever, whatever said. Why? Because Prabhupada had full faith, full conviction in his Guru's instruction and the words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So many times we have discussed. He never doubted. He never ever doubted. And his faith, his deep faith, his firm faith in the instruction of a spiritual master empowered him to such an extent that he could create this miracle. That at the mature age of 70, single-handedly within 10 years, he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And we see practically the same commitment exhibited by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Many times when we interact with them and when we hear how they have performed service to Srila Prabhupada, we are completely shocked. Such kind of faith in Srila Prabhupada's word, such commitment to perform the instructions which is given by Srila Prabhupada, entire life they can live in executing one Srila Prabhupada instruction which was given to them by Prabhupada some 40, 50 years back. And Prabhupada is no longer there on the planet. This is the difference. They have such firm faith in the instruction of the Guru. There is not even a iota of doubt in their heart. This is what it is said, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Karya Aikya. Priyanka Mataji, where is Ravindra Prabhu? Oh, you have switched seats today. So, this faith, this transcendental faith in the instruction of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra empowers one for this transcendental knowledge. If you do not have that faith, there is no possibility of receiving this knowledge. You may memorize or you may cram each and every word of Bhagavad Gita. But when it will come to application in life, there is no possibility. That empowerment is coming from that faith. So here Krishna is saying here that this knowledge comes because free from all doubts, as one follows the instruction. And how does faith comes? The golden statement is, we are all lacking faith. Why we are lacking faith? Because we are lacking the execution. Faith comes from following. Guru Maharaj always says that. If you follow 1%, you will have 1% faith. If you follow 10%, you will develop 10% faith. And if you follow 100%, you will see 100% faith. You will see that this Krishna consciousness, how sublime it is, how glorious it is, how magical it is. So he will be able to receive this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, and he will be able to get this understanding that he as a part and parcel of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. So Krishna is saying, Krishna is giving this path here of self-realization, and the process of self-realization in this chapter is through performing of Nishkam Karma. Is performing action which is devoid from the desire of results or rewards. And what action? As per the instructions. The Prabhupada is saying, one who follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. And the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita are coming from the spiritual master, from the Parampara. To the extent we follow the instruction, to that extent our faith becomes firm. There are so many examples from Shastras. I'll cite one example, one very prominent example of a 5-year-old boy, Dhruva Maharaj. And what was the situation of Dhruva? He was so much agitated in his heart. Not just agitated, he was so much in a revengeful mood. He wanted to averse the insult that was imposed on him by his stepmother, Suruchi. And when he approached his mother, Suniti told her that, my dear son, I do not have any position. I cannot position you on the throne of your father's kingdom. That is only possible by the Supreme Lord. You have to approach the Supreme Lord. So that faith Suniti had in her heart. And with that conviction, she convinced her 5-year-old son. And see how much faith she had in Lord. That she is telling her 5-year-old only son, she has already been, disapproved by her husband. She lives outside the palace. She has been discarded. And she has only one hope, that is her son. And she says that you approach the Supreme Lord. And the innocent boy, Dhruva, he is asking her mother, you are saying that I have to approach the Supreme Lord, but where do I find him? How can I find him? Where do I find him? And she says that he is in forest. You go to the forest and perform austerity. And he will be pleased and he can come and give you. Although it was not a fruitless effort, but the conviction, the firm faith in Suniti instilled faith in the heart of Dhruva. And when Dhruva was convinced, so he went out for forest. Of course, he went to the forest of Vrindavan. And while he was going, he met so many people and everybody discouraged him. Saying, "Arey, you balak, you 5-year-old boy, how can you find God? And where are you going in the forest? You will find God if you exist. There are so many ferocious animals. They will eat you up. What you will find God?" But he was not discouraged by anyone. And by seeing his conviction, the Lord was so pleased that he sent his authorized representative, Lord Narad Muni. And Narad Muni also came and tested him. Narad Muni said, "Oh, you are such a small kid. I know you have Kshatriya blood. And Kshatriya blood is very, very, on pride oriented. But don't worry, I will make a compromise between you and your stepmother. She will allow you to sit on the throne on the lap of your father. You don't have to go to the forest." And what did Dhruva tell Narad Muni? That if you can help me realize God, please speak to me, otherwise don't waste my time. And when Narad Muni heard this, he said, "This boy is serious. This boy is convinced. He has no doubt that he can find God." All of us have in our heart are having doubt. Does God exist? Can we see God? Or can we meet him? So many samshayas are there. But in the heart of that boy, there was no samshaya. And seeing his determination, Narad Muni gave him the Ashtanga Yoga process. And within 6 months, we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, we see in the life of so many Srila Prabhupada's disciples. There is one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Guru Kripa Prabhu. You will see in Ilamrit, an American disciple of Srila Prabhupada, very young. He was in the army when he joined Srila Prabhupada, giving up his army position and he joined Prabhupada. Prabhupada used to call him his banker. Banker. You understand banker? And Prabhupada, at that time, in early 70s, Prabhupada had turned his attention to India, to build temples in India. Huge temples. He started 3 projects together. Vrindavan, Mayapur and Bombay. And in India, Prabhupada hardly had any followers, any disciples. Prabhupada had no money. So he asked his Western disciples to do fundraising. How difficult it is. In the Western country, if you ask for donation to build up a temple in India, will anyone give? They will say there are so many temples in India. India is a country of temples. temples only. Why you want to have a new temple? What is the need of a new temple? And Prabhupada at that time told Prabhu Kripa Prabhu in 1970s that every month you send me $1 lakh. Just imagine, even $1 lakh is how much today? More than 80 lakhs. 50 years back, 53 years back. I have personally met him. I asked him this question. Probably how you are able to raise so much money every month. Every month. But he had such firm faith in his Guru's word. And wherever he went, he was traveling all over the world with his team. They were doing book distribution and fundraising. You will see if you go to Vrindavan this time, you see the signage there. His name is on top. For contributions and collections for building the Vrindavan temple, for building the Mayapur project, for building the Mumbai project. Why? Because they had faith in Guru, so they had no doubt whatsoever. You see the story of Giriraj Maharaj, you see the story of our Maharaj, you see the story of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, Loknath Swami Maharaj, all of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Why? Because they had firm faith in the instruction of their spiritual master. There was not a trace of doubt in their heart. And this knowledge flowed into their hearts. This is what Krishna is explaining here to Arjuna, and through Arjuna he is giving this message to all of us. That Atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. You will not be bound by the reactions of birth, O conqueror of riches. And then in the next verse, which is the 42nd verse, Krishna concludes the entire chapter. He says, Tasmad ajnana sambhutam ritstam jnana shinatmana shitvenam samshayam yoga atishtotishtha bharata. Tasmad. Tasmad means conclusion. Therefore, like when you are solving some problem or some equation, you write QED. Any one of you who studied algebra or trigonometry, the final word is QED. QED means the quad irad tantrum. Hence proved or the conclusion. Krishna is saying, Tasma. Therefore, what? Ajnana sambhutam. The doubts which have arisen. Krishna is talking about the demon of doubt. In this very final section, Krishna is emphasizing that what is the reason of people having doubts, not having faith and conviction. It is saying that ajnana sambhutam. Udbhutam means when it is born, from where it comes. What is the place of origin? Samshaya, what is the place of origin? Is ajnana. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam. The doubts which are born out of ignorance. And where are they born? Ritstam. Ritstam means it is born in the heart. Ritstam. In the region of heart. So where are the doubts residing? In our hearts, not in our head. Many times we think it is in our head. No. Bhagavad Gita refutes. Our mind, intelligence, all our subtle body is not in the head. It is in the heart. Why it is in the heart, not in the head? Who can reply? Why it is not in the head? It is in the heart. Intelligence is not in the head. It is in the heart. The epicenter is the heart, not the head. Prabhupada proved it by one example, that people go in coma. When people go in coma, that time the brain is dead. It does not work. Once anything is dead, can it be revived? It cannot be revived. But people, when they are out of coma, they are normal. So why the doubts are there in the heart, not in the head? We are thinking our doubts are there in the head. And dear Krishna is saying, Tasmat Ajnana Sambhutam Ritstam. It is in the heart. Only Sonika is raising his hand. There are some others who don't want to even attempt. Let others try. Pradeep, why it is not in the head? Why it is in the heart? Pradeep Prabhu?
Well, the Supreme Lord is present as Paramatma.
A little louder, not clear.
The super soul is in the heart as the Paramatma.
Yes, but more clearer. The super soul gives rise to doubt. Does the super soul gives rise to doubt? Paramatma gives rise to doubt.
No, bro.
Huh? Devashish Prabhu?
तो सोल जो आत्मा है और हृदय में रहता है.
Yeah. Both the soul and the super soul is in the region of the heart. And the subtle body is where the Atma is encased in the subtle body. So everything is in the heart. So Krishna is saying here that Ditstam Jnana Shinatmana. So in the heart, what you have to do? Jnana Shin. You have to illuminate your heart with knowledge. That is what Krishna will speak when he will speak in the 10th chapter. He says, Tesham evanukarmbartam aham agyan jamatamam. Nashyami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasmata. Very beautiful verse. 10th chapter, and I think it's the 11th verse. So where the jnana deepa has to be lit, not in the head, but in the heart. So Krishna is saying, asina, that you be situated, asina, with this weapon of knowledge. Be situated in this weapon of knowledge. With this weapon of knowledge, what you have to do? Chitvenam. Chitvenam means again to cut. In the last verse also he said, Jnana Sanshina. Sanshina also means to cut, and Chitvenam also means to cut. So unless and until the illumination of Jnana is there, Samshaya can never be removed. It will remain. It will remain occupying our heart space. So Chitvenam Samshayam. So all the doubts which are arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. And then he says, Yogam Atishto Uttishta Bharata. You be situated in yoga. Of course, whoever receives this knowledge, he is in yoga. He is in perfect connection with Krishna. And what is the final conclusion Krishna is saying? Atishta Uttishta Bharata. Stand up. Wake up or arise and fight. Why? Because in the second chapter, what did Arjuna say? Na yotsa iti Govinda. that I shall not fight. And now Krishna is saying, all of it is because of the weakness of your heart. And why your heart is weak? Because the heart is filled with samshaya. Very, very important aspect in our practice of Krishna consciousness, that we are weak-hearted. A weak-hearted practitioner is only struggling, and struggling. And what the reason for that is, he is lacking faith. And why he is lacking faith? Because that knowledge has not entered his heart. Why the knowledge is not entering his heart? His heart is occupied with all doubts. Krishna is saying, remove, just like fight. So this fighting is not outside. Very important. This fighting is inside. Another battle. This battle, Arjuna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But here Krishna is not asking Arjuna to fight outside. First he says, you fight the demon which is inside. This is the war which is of one's own doubt. So Krishna is telling Arjuna. So Arjuna was having the skill. Arjuna was very powerful warrior. Arjuna had single-handedly defeated the Kaurava army twice in the past. Single-handedly. So he was the same warrior. But what Arjuna was lacking was not the skill or the prowess or the competence, but Arjuna was lacking the will. His willpower had become weak. That is what Krishna says. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anare justam asvargam akirti karam Arjuna. From where has these impurities come in your heart? What are the impurities? These doubts. So in our heart is filled with so many doubts. If I practice Krishna consciousness, what will happen to my career? Will I get a job or not? Will I be able to sustain, survive or not? Will I get a wife or not? Will I get a car or not? So many doubts are there. So many suspicions are there. What will happen to my material life? What will happen to my social life? So many apprehensions are there. Because of this doubt, this knowledge does not enter. And what is the reason of all the doubt? Because he has not understood the principles. Why he has not understood the principle? Because he is lacking faith. He is not applying it. If you do not apply, it will never act. Krishna is telling here, he is giving a very firm instruction that the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. You are a warrior. Use the mighty weapon. This weapon is more stronger than any other weapon, than any other astra or shastra or brahmastra. What is that weapon? This is the Jnanastra. That is why we say the pen is mightier than the sword. Have you heard? Suna hai, nahi suna hai? That the pen is mightier than the sword. You people are not giving me any response. Have you not heard? Huh? How it is mightier than the sword? Here, because it is recommended by Krishna. And where is the example is of Arjuna? He had this sword. He had very sharp arrows. He could do anything and everything with his arrows. He could, even with his arrows, he could stop the flow of wind. He could do anything. But unless and until the heart is weak, all his prowess, all his power was useless. So Krishna is giving the inner engineering. As one devotee was very nicely explaining. So Krishna is recommending first the inner engineering of the heart. How? By applying, accepting this knowledge. So how do we get faith, or how do we think? We see those who are sincere in Krishna consciousness, how it is working for them. And by seeing the results of others, what Srila Prabhupada disciples saw, they saw only one person. How it is working with Srila Prabhupada. And by that one example, they were completely convinced. We have so many other examples of not only Srila Prabhupada, of so many Srila Prabhupada's glorious disciples. And so many of their glorious disciples. But still, our doubting tendency, the demon which is there in our heart, as the doubt, it is still dictating us. We are not following the instruction of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, but we are still following the dictates of the demon which is inside our heart. We are always doubting. Let us see the purport. It is a long purport. We will try to complete the purport. Prabhupada says that the yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga. What is the yoga system? Of one's relation with the Supreme Lord. So that is Sanatana. The sambandha of Jiva and Ishvara is inseparable, is interminable. It is eternal. Every other relation in this world is temporary. It has a date of beginning and certainly it will have a date of expiry. Yes, no? But the Jiva's relation with the Supreme Lord is eternal. Neither it has the date of beginning, so there is no question of any termination. Or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of sacrificial action. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, that we saw in the various sacrifices recommended. What is this yajna called? Sacrifice of one's material possessions. Which yajna is this? Out of the yajnas Krishna has recommended. Anyone remembers? Krishna recommended so many yajnas. No one remembers? How many yajnas Krishna recommended? 10. In the 28th verse, he says, Dravya yajna. What is Dravya yajna? Sacrificing one's possessions. Which possessions? Material possessions. Here is again, Prabhupada is mentioning here. That is, yoga has two divisions of sacrificial action. One is called the sacrifice of one's material possessions. And the other is called knowledge of the self. So what is knowledge of the self? This is jnana yajna. Which is pure spiritual activity. If sacrifice of one's material position is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. So we see people give charity also. Many people are pious, and the pious people, they give charity. Giving charity is what? Sacrifice of one's material possessions. But if that charity is not for spiritual activity or for spiritual purpose, or Prabhupada says for spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. So that is why we have discussed in the 17th chapter, Krishna talks about charity in the three modes. So unless and until the charity is for the cause of promoting Krishna consciousness, it is within modes. Within modes made, it is on the material platform. But one who performs such sacrifice with a spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect sacrifice. When we come to spiritual activities, see, Prabhupada is classifying. Even if one is performing spiritual activity, there are different levels. Prabhupada will explain. When one comes to spiritual activities, we find these are also divided in two. Namely, understanding of one's own self or one's constitutional condition, and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So unless and until this objective is there of trying to understand one's own self, what it is called? It is called self-realization. Or athato brahma jigyasa. So if one does not, so that is why we are doing all this Bhagavad Gita study. Why we are doing? To come to this level of understanding one's own self, and who we are, what is the purpose of human life, and how we can achieve the purpose of human existence. And second is the truth regarding the Supreme Position. So self-realization and God realization both. Of course, when we say God realization, it includes the self-realization. So the purpose of performing sacrifice should be to realize the self and also to realize the Supreme Lord. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. What is the difference between those who are not following the path of Bhagavad Gita? They are following the path of Jnana. Where is the difference? Here Prabhupada is saying that one who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. But those who are not following the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, they are following the instructions of Vedas directly. They're trying to. So what is the difference? Even after so many years and so many lifetimes, they are not able to realize. What is the difference? They call Jnanis. The difference between a Jnani and a Bhagavad Gita Bhakta. Both are assimilating knowledge. Both are cultivating knowledge. What is the difference? Bolo Dayashil Prabhu. Or Dayashil is not there. Manoram Prabhu. You speak.
The Krishna Prabhuji, the approach is the main factor here. I think Gyanis, they tries by their own to understand the spiritual aspects, whereas a bhakta or devotee, he will approach through the parampara. So he is getting the real knowledge, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good. But Prabhupada is saying here that there are two aspects. We find that there are also two, the division two. One is understanding of own self, constitutional position, and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says one who is the follower of the path of Bhagavad Gita can easily understand these two important divisions. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord, and such understanding is beneficial. Such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. Now you tell me, where is the difference of these two divisions?
स्वामी जी,
हाँ जी,
हाँ, एक स्टेज में ऐसा है कि ज्ञानी के लिए राग द्वेष उसके अभी भी पूर्ण रूप से खत्म नहीं होती, लेकिन जो भक्त है उसके तो परमात्मा राग और द्वेष भी खत्म कर देता है। तो ज्ञानी का गिरने का संभावना है, लेकिन जो प्रभु की जो सेल्फ रियलाइज के बाद गॉड रियलाइजेशन यानी श्री कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में भी जाता है, उसको गिरने की कोई संभावना नहीं।
नहीं, अच्छा बताया आपने, लेकिन यहाँ तो बोल रहे हैं कि उसकी दो डिविजन्स है ना। पहला लेवल क्या है कि वो अपने आप को जान पाएगा, सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन, और सेकंड एस्पेक्ट है, हायर एस्पेक्ट है गॉड रियलाइजेशन।
हाँ, तो अल्टीमेटली उसे ये पता चला मैं उसी
तो जो
को
भगवत गीता, प्रभुपाद जी बोल रहे हैं कि जो भगवत गीता का विद्यार्थी है, जो भगवत गीता की निर्देश को यथारूप पालन करता है, उसके लिए बड़ा सरल है, वो दोनों दोनों जान जाएगा, दोनों आध्यात्मिक स्तरों को पार कर पाएगा। लेकिन गानी क्यों फंस जाता है? गिरने की बात नहीं कर रहे, अभी वो पहुंच ही नहीं पाता है। उसको भगवान का साक्षात्कार होता ही नहीं। उसका साक्षात्कार कहां तक होता है? केवल ब्रह्म तक। वो भगवान तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाता। In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. What is the activity which was discussed? The transcendental activity of the Lord. What transcendental activity of the Lord was discussed in the first section of this chapter? In the beginning of the chapter, transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. What are the transcendental activities of the Lord? Why only Sonika has to answer? Priyanka and Ravindra Prabhu, did you not hear this chapter? Why you will not answer? बोलिए, बताइए।
May I, Prabhuji?
बोलिए।
Prabhuji, Lord Krishna
No,
explains
wait,
that.
Sonika. I am asking Priyanka and Ravindra Prabhu to speak.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
परंपरा के बारे में बता रहे हैं, उसके बाद जन्म कर्म।
सही से बताइए, कैजुअल क्लास नहीं चल रहा है। You have to speak, you know, in proper perspective to what Krishna is speaking.
इस प्रभु जी, भगवान पहले ये बता रहे हैं, ये जो नॉलेज है पहले वो सन गॉड को दे रहे हैं, और वो जो पहले ही थे, और ये
वो
नॉलेज
बता रहे हैं कि अर्जुना ये मत समझो मैं तुम्हारे साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा हूँ। ये नॉलेज, दिस नॉलेज इज सो, you know, having such background, it is coming from millions of years back. And I gave this knowledge to Sun God. So this is already tried and tested. It has stood the test of time. And even with the passage of time, it has not been wiped out or lost. And then, of course, as you were saying, Krishna says that all his activity, and then talks about himself, that he appears in his transcendental body. And then he says all his activities and his birth are all transcendental. The Prabhupada is saying that in the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. One who does not understand the instructions of the Gita is faithless. Very heavy. Krishna is saying that the faithless cannot receive this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada is saying that one who does not understand the instructions of the Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing his fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. In spite of such instruction, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as the eternal, blissful, and all-knowing personality of Godhead is certainly fool number one. So Prabhupada is heavy. Actually, Prabhupada is dejected that after giving so many instructions and giving so many evidences, even if people are stubborn and they don't accept, then who is such a person? Prabhupada is saying such a person is a fool number one. And he's a faithless person. Ajnanascha ashraddhanascha. Ignorance can be removed By gradually acceptance of principles of Krishna consciousness. What are the principles of Krishna consciousness? Is not to doubt in the words and the instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of sacrifices to the demigods, sacrifice to Brahman, sacrifice to celibacy in household life, as it was discussed in this chapter, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penances, in foregoing material possessions. All these sacrifices mentioned. In studying the Vedas and in partaking of the social institution called Varnashram. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated actions. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. So that should be the objective. That should be the goal. One who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master. Very important instruction. That if to have to understand the transcendental literature, which is Bhagavad Gita, it is transcendental. It is beyond the three modes. It is beyond human intelligence. So how human intelligence can understand Bhagavad Gita? So what we need a spiritual master. We need someone who can uplift us from the material platform to connect us to the spiritual platform. The Prabhupada is saying that one is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scriptures under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. That is also one of the main instructions of this chapter. Tadvidhi paripatena pariprasnena sevaya. Upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninam tattvadarshana. So without accepting the shelter of a spiritual master, there is no possibility of receiving this knowledge. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal. That Krishna explained in the first verse. And he does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord, as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly king. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself. And beware of self-interested person after personal aggrandizement. So how we have to follow Gita? As it is instructed by Krishna. And Prabhupada is saying that we have to be very cautious of those persons who are after personal aggrandizement, who deviate others from the actual path. One example is there. Prabhupada used to quote that example very frequently. There was one very scholarly person in India, and he was on the highest position of India after independence. Do you imagine what is the highest position in India? The highest constitutional position in India. Free India. And he gave one commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And his commentary on Bhagavad Gita was very popular. And what is his understanding of Bhagavad Gita? Is Krishna says, Man mana bhav mad bhakto. That you fix your mind on me. Man mana, mat mana, bhava mad bhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Offer obeisances unto me. And in his commentary, he is writing that we do not have to worship Krishna, or we do not have to offer obeisances to Krishna, but we have to offer it to someone who is within Krishna. Like for us, Jiva, within and without is not the same. What is within is Atma, and what is outside is Anatma, that is the Sharira. But for Krishna, there is no such difference. Krishna explained in this chapter only. Krishna says in the 5th verse, Krishna spoke. 6th verse, Ajo api san avyayatma. That I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates. But that person, he does not accept Krishna's instruction. And he is giving commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and many people are reading that Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada is saying here, such people are using Bhagavad Gita for self-aggrandizement, for their own popularity, for their own advantage, for their own selfish desires. Prabhupada is warning us. So such people deviate others from the actual path. So we should not try to take any Gita or every Gita and think Gita to same hai, Bhagwan ka sandesh to same hai. Of course, the shloka is the same. But where is the actual Bhagavad Gita? Before Prabhupada published Bhagavad Gita as it is, some 75 years, not even 75, 55 years back, there were so many editions of Bhagavad Gita. But did anyone's heart this knowledge entered? Did so many people transform their life? No one. Why? Because no one was giving Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Prabhupada is warning us that beware of self-interested people and who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person and his activities are transcendental. Janma karma cha me divya. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. So actually Bhagavad Gita study can be relished by those who are liberated. And how to be liberated? Very simple. Who has full faith in Krishna is liberated. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport to the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna. So if you have any question, any doubt, please ask. You should not allow the doubts to occupy your space in your heart, because they will not allow this knowledge to enter. Prabhupada writes in many of his purport that the doubts are compared to demons. Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, sometimes it seems that Sansa and Jigyasa are same. What is difference actually, Prabhuji?
No. See, the basis is different. Jigyasa means that there is inquisitiveness to know the principle, to know the philosophy. It expresses one's eagerness, one's desire, one's appetite to understand and apply. It's very positive. And the best way of Jigyasa is Pariprashnena. Krishna says, this is for those who want to advance. So Jigyasa is required. But what kind of Jigyasa? Jigyasa for self-realization. It is called Atato Brahm Jigyasa. But what is doubt? Doubt is on the contrary, that what principle Krishna is giving, we do not accept. At the level of our mind, at the level of our intelligence, we are rejecting. So if we have that doubt, we should put it forward, so that it can be, like Krishna is saying here, you kill or cut that element of doubt with knowledge. Just because it is not working on me, because I am not applying the process properly, So it means that the process is faulty. So that doubt which is there in the heart, this is the reflection of faithlessness. That must be removed. And how it is to be removed? Krishna is explaining here with the sword of knowledge. Okay, one determines one's eagerness to advance, the other determines one's faithlessness. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No doubts, all transcendental knowledge is received in the heart. This Kartik, we have complete illumination of the heart. पूछिए अगर कोई प्रश्न है, हमारे पास है कि टाइम है 5-7 मिनट, 9 बजने में कुछ टाइम है.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
हरे कृष्ण.
प्रभु जी, हम जब तक रहेंगे प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ बॉडी एंड माइंड लेवल पे, जब तक रहेंगे डाउट तो आएगा ही.
तो फिर भगवान इसीलिए बोल रहे हैं ना कि माइंड और बॉडी के लेवल पे मत रहिए, ऊपर उठिए. तभी तो भगवान ये कह रहे हैं, तक तो उत्तिष्ठ भारत, उठो, खड़े हो जाओ. इग्नोरेंस में मत पड़े रहो, अज्ञान में मत रहो. अज्ञान का मतलब क्या है? प्लेटफॉर्म कौन सा है? बॉडीली है और सेंसुअस है. इसलिए तो ये ज्ञान का अनुशीलन कर रहे हैं. किस लिए कर रहे हैं? बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म पर रहने के लिए थोड़ी कर रहे हैं, बॉडी प्लेटफॉर्म से अपलिफ्ट होने के लिए कर रहे हैं, फ्री होने के लिए कर रहे हैं. तो कैसे होंगे? जब इंस्ट्रक्शंस फॉलो करेंगे. तो जी बोल रहे हैं ना, दो चीज बता रहे हैं कि रियलाइजेशन ऑफ द सेल्फ एंड रियलाइजेशन ऑफ द लॉर्ड. प्रभुपाद जी बोल रहे हैं कि वन हु इज following the path of Bhagavad Gita can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge. तो हमें करना क्या है? सिंपल है. जब भी हमारे जीवन में कोई डिसीजन आता है तो हम किसके बेसिस पे लें? जो हमारा मन कह रहा है. तो प्लेटफॉर्म क्या है? क्या प्लेटफॉर्म? मटीरियल प्लेटफॉर्म, कर्मा. तो कर्मा में फंसे रहेंगे. अगर इंस्ट्रक्शन के अनुसार करेंगे तो कर्मा से फ्री हो जाएंगे. तो पूछे, इंस्ट्रक्शंस को फॉलो करें और मटेरियल प्लेटफॉर्म से बाहर निकले. इसलिए भगवान ने भगवत गीता दिया है, नहीं तो देने का जरूरत क्या है? अगर हमको हमें यहाँ फंसा के ही रखना था तो भगवत गीता क्यों देना?
क्योंकि प्रभु तो ट्राई करते हैं फॉलो करने के लिए, फिर भी लेकिन डाउट.
तो डाउट पूछिए. जो प्लेटफॉर्म दिया है, क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन किस लिए? काउंसलिंग किस लिए? ऐसा तो है नहीं भगवान ने एक बार गीता बोल के छोड़ दिया, बस जाओ, समझ में आ गया तो तर जाओ, नहीं तो जाओ. प्रभुपाद जी ने ये सोसाइटी क्यों बनाया? Why he took so much of pain? So that everyone can get personal advantage. That is why he built such a society. So why we should remain in doubt? Like Arjuna, we should follow the footsteps of Arjuna. Whatever doubt Arjuna has, you will see in the next chapter, Arjuna will still question Krishna based on some doubt. Krishna has said, remove your doubt, so Arjuna will put forward that doubt. So whatever doubt is coming, we should ask. And when we get the solution, then we should apply that solution. As the faith will become deeper, the doubts will become weaker. Very simple. Write it and apply it. As the faith will become deeper, the doubts will become weaker. And as the faith becomes firm, we are free from doubts. And how the faith will come? By following, by applying, not otherwise. If you don't apply, it will not act. It will not work. It will not open up. The principles will remain intact. So as we follow, we have faith. And this faith is the gift of the Supreme Lord. It is coming in the form of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. You see the faith that is, we are still moved when we meet Srila Prabhupada's disciple. What faith they have in the instructions of their Guru. You see Guru Maharaj, what faith he has in Srila Prabhupada. That faith moves the heart of anyone and everyone, whoever he interacts with. So similarly, how we can have faith? If we follow his instructions. And if we have any difficulty, if we have any doubt, we can always ask. We can clarify. Okay, I'll stop here. It's close to 9. So with the support of all of you, we were able to study this very important chapter of transcendental knowledge. So my request is, we have 1 week before we start the next chapter. Please write the main message or the main instructions of Krishna in this chapter. What we have understood. What is the message Krishna is giving in this chapter? See, we have to do some heart work. It is not hard work. Srila Prabhupada says, hard work is done by asses, gadha. Devotees do not do hard work. They do heart work. So we have to bring into our heart the instruction of Krishna. How? By writing it down. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Wishing you all a very auspicious Kartik. Please take some commitment. Make some commitment in this Kartik. What you will do. Small thing that you must do. You should always every day offer lamb to Yashoda Damodar or Radha Krishna, whatever is possible for you. But mainly it should be in the evening time. If it is not possible for you to do it in the morning time, but that cannot be daily, then it has become a ritual, then it will not be spiritual. And every time you are offering a lamb, please pray to Yashoda Damodar, please pray to Radha Damodar to remove our ignorance, to instill faith and remove our doubts. Every day we should pray. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.